Rich Rodriguez, from KJ Harris, Big Joe, Kevin Koken, T.O.R.
And man, just keep doing what you're doing because you have a message.
I think one of the greatest college running backs ever, obviously in the history of West Virginia, but also if you look at the stats, what he did in college football.
All right. Listen, I want to take some time and really make sure I do my special guest some serious justice. So I'm going to take my time with this one because when I tell you I was fortunate to play with some great players in my career on every level, from high school to college to the professional ranks. And I got one of the greatest that I've ever played with. And it was a pleasure to be a teammate of this young man. So none other than Stevie Thomas. He's an AFL Hall of Famer. This young man, let me tell you, went to Bethune-Cookman University. In his career, 529 receptions, 7,892 receiving yards, 152 receiving touchdowns, 111 tackles, 10 interceptions in his career. This is why he's a Hall of Famer. So once again, I'm so gracious that he took some time to come on my show, Relatively Sports with Eugene Napoleon. This is none other than AFL Hall of Famer Stevie Thomas.
Hey, man, I appreciate the invite, man. You know, it's always an honor just to hear you, just to speak with you, just to receive text messages from you here and there, you know, just staying in contact with one another. My man, it's a blessing, always a blessing.
Man, thank you. I appreciate you, man. Listen, I'm going back a little ways. I got to ask you, as great as you were in the field, where did that passion come from? When did the love of sports even start in your career?
Oh man, you know, for people like us, man, we got to go way back to childhood days, man. You know, playing sandlot football, killer carrier. I'm not even sure what the name they call it now, but you know, it started at a young age when I was a young man. You know, I first started off playing baseball. You know, because I was a big baseball guy. You know, I had a chance. You know, after I left, got cut by the Bucks. You know, I had a chance to work out for the San Francisco Giants. And, you know, was getting ready to venture that way. And then the NFL created the World League of American Football, which at the same time I had to divert back to football because that was my I was truly felt that that was my blessing was calling. But, you know, when you start talking about that gift of football, man, it started at a young age, man, you know, just playing sandlot football, you know, with the guys in the neighborhood. My mom would never let me play Little League football because she was always afraid I was going to get hurt.
Right.
But the guys in the neighborhood knew that I had a knack for the game. So when we venture off to play neighborhood against neighborhood, they would always come get me and say, man, we're going to go play this team, this neighborhood, that neighborhood. So I was always there, but I really didn't start playing real organized football technically until I got in high school as a ninth grader.
Wow. Now, that had to be something special because, you know, like you said, how that goes, the transition from playing usually Pop One or a Little League, and then you get into high school or whatever. So you literally, the first time playing organized football was in the ninth grade.
Ninth grade in high school at Boca Sega High School, man. My first organized position on the football field was defensive end.
Get out of here.
No lie.
Wow.
A lot of people don't know that though. Only you. You the first one to hear
that. So wait a minute. You gotta share this with me. Hold on. Where did those hands come from?
Man, well, you know that I was always doing that. You know, like I said, in the neighborhood. You know, when we went and played against other teams. You know, the guys who knew me, they knew I was an athlete. So you know, they always wanted me to either play quarterback or they wanted me to play receiver because you know. They knew I had the hands for it even when I played with the older guys because back then, you know, you weren't allowed to play, pick up basketball or football unless you're playing most time you're playing with the older guys. So, so the older guys always say, look, man, you playing receiver, you doing this, you doing that. So you playing quarterback, you know, because I could throw and I can catch and I can run. And so it just, but when I got in high school, you know, my first year playing, the coaches already have who they want, you know,
Right.
in the position. So, you know, if you're truly a player, you're gonna find you another position to play because you
Right.
just want to be on the field.
Right.
So, you know,
That's
so I ended up playing defensive end, man, as a ninth grader, man, starting defensive end, you know, and then from that point, my 10th grade year, you know, I asked them, I said, hey, can I try for quarterback? They were kind of hesitant. And like I told them, I said, you know, I go back to defensive end, but just give me a chance. And if you like what I'm doing, you know, let me stay there. And so, you know, they put me in a position, and from that, man, it is what it is. You know, I went on, played quarterback, you know, pretty much my 10th grade, you know, 11th grade year, I played quarterback and receiver. My senior year in high school, played strictly quarterback, and I went to Cookman, went to Bethune as a quarterback, and then, you know, I ended up getting switched. You know, after my red shirt year, I got switched back to receiver because all the receivers was pretending like they was hurt because they didn't want to go through tour days.
right.
So,
Right.
so you know, so the coach put me over there, you know, and I went going against the first string defense. You know, I ended up catching a fade right in the end zone. I jumped up over two DBs and caught the ball in the end zone. So the coach said, "Yo, but now your position is wide receiver. Is your position unless you lose it." So you know, me being a competitor, and you know, for yourself by being a competitor, only thing we needed that little niche just to give us a little bit to get our foot in the door. So
Right.
when he sat there and said, this is your position. You are the starting receiver unless you lose it. So you know, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, are you telling me I'm the starting receiver right now as of this day? It's up to me to lose it. He said, yeah. So that way, man, look here. You know me, hey man, look here. I'm a dog. I'm a dog. So I would say no more.
That was it. During the process of high school, when you was being recruited, I mean, did you always think about Bethune-Cookman, or were you looking at other places and decided to just stay home? What was that
Man,
process like?
man, that's a whole nother story, boy. That's a whole nother story. But I must admit, you know, I was a knucklehead, hard head. I can play the game, can play all sports. But I must admit, I had a messed up attitude. You know, I would play, but then at the same time, you know, I won't listen to the coaches most time. I tell my coach, you know, this is my team, it ain't yours and stuff like that. But you know, because
Got you.
he was new to the school, and so be honest with me, it kind of hurt me on the recruiting trail because I was being recruited by some big name schools. I don't want to put them out there
I
like
got
that,
you.
but you know, I was being recruited by some big name schools and stuff like that. But you know, when them schools come in there, you know, to talk to the coach, at the time, I was kind of look ticked with the coach because at the same time, he didn't realize he was kind of sort of diverting my future, you know, preventing me from possibly going where I could have went and could have did better, or I could have went there and not did as good. But at the
Right.
same time, you know, he was just honest, and you know, he hard headed, you know, because he didn't want to mess it up for the guys coming behind me. So he was honest with him. He was like, you know, he's hard headed. He can play the game, but he's hard headed. Sometimes he has a messed up attitude. So you know, coaches back then they didn't want to hear that. So you know, so they
Right.
venture off and go to other people, and you know, but then just so happened, you know, when Cookman, you know, a teacher at the time got a hold of Cookman, got a hold of Coach Larry Little down at Cookman, and you know, and it pretty much went from there. You know, the coach told him the same thing. You know, he got a messed up attitude, but Coach Little was just like, you know what, I love players like that. They got attitude. I can coach them type of players, and it pretty
Mm.
much just went from there. He didn't let my attitude scare him away. You know, because at the same time, the guy knew what I gave him when the game started. But you know, in
Right.
practice, yeah, you know, I was a knucklehead, hard headed in practice, but when game time came, I was
Mm.
always there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me tell you something, man. I learned immediately coming to the AFL with you, just watching you play the game. It was effort. I mean, it was truly like watching a highlight reel practice, games. I would call home and tell my boys from Jersey City at the time, I've never seen anybody like this dude. Right? They didn't believe me. They couldn't understand it. I said, you really don't understand. Like, it doesn't matter what route it's called. It doesn't matter who's on defense. It really does not matter. This dude is one of the greatest pure receivers I've ever seen. So, interestingly enough, I was glad that when people got a chance to see what I was saying, they too echoed the same sentiments. So I wasn't crazy when I was telling them how good you were. I'm like, nah, this dude is, again, playing at West Virginia, we had some great ones, man. We had some great ones now. Reggie Rembert and those guys, and Grandis Bell and Harvey Smith. We had some great receivers.
Yeah.
Just watch your ability to track a ball, no matter how it was thrown, no matter where it was thrown, in all hands. You know what I mean? Just great hands. You don't see that too much, even in today's game. I
No,
still
you
see
don't.
receivers, they're body catchers. They catch it with their body. They don't want to extend their hands out from their body. And I'm gonna tell you, again, watching what I've watched and what I've learned from you through all those years, I still hold receivers, to be honest with you, Stevie, to your standards.
Man,
That's just me,
that's
though.
that's an honor, man. I appreciate that, man.
Crazy. It was one of them things, man. The AFL provided some things even for me, although I never had a chance to play my natural position in the AFL because I'm not a receiver, I'm not a DB,
Right.
I was a tailback.
Correct.
But being athletic enough to make it work was a blessing. And I learned so much from that league. People don't really understand how competitive and how difficult it is to
Right.
play in the AFL, especially back then, with
Correct.
all them dogs,
Absolutely.
all that talent.
Right.
So, what was it? What are some of the greatest? I know it's a lot because your career was such an illustrious career, but if you had to go back and pick two or three moments in your career, what would be some of the favorite moments?
Oh my God, dude. If you just looking at just the fact of the camaraderie, back then was man, it was just amazing, the camaraderie, with that we had back when we played, and with that team, people didn't expect for us to be able to do the things that we did.
Right.
But then when you start looking at for individual play, and you're looking at specific plays and stuff like that, man, it's really hard to pinpoint one. But I would have to sit there and say in '91 against Detroit is when I really, you know, my first year joining them was like going into the sixth game of the season. So at the same time, nobody really knew who I was. But initially, when the Storm was actually being brought to the St. Pete area, because back then we played in the actual city of St. Petersburg at the now Tropicana, which back when we played it was called uh, I forgot Thunder something, Thunderdome,
Oh
the
yeah,
Thunderdome. So we were the only professional team occupying the arena. So so I have to say '91 because nobody really knew who I was, but the original coaches who was going to be a part of that team, who were with the Bucks, some of them got released and they were going to be a part of the Storm, and they were the one that originally contacted me and thought that this would be a good opportunity for me to keep on playing, especially after the what happened in the World League. But
mm,
'91 is when I caught I say by me, like I said, by me being new, when I caught the game winning touchdown pass from Jay Gruden in 1991 against Detroit Drive, because they was the Mecca team of the Arena
right.
Football League back then. And I think once that happened, because that actual game, I think I had like 4 touchdowns in that game, and that really what really started making people really pay attention to me in arena football in the arena football league, and it pretty much just went from there. So I would say that particular game and that game winning touchdown I say that the best one. And I had others, but I would say because of that being the first one, which catapulted my Arena Football League career.
Man, I'm gonna tell you something. 152 touchdowns.
Yeah,
just
yeah,
saying that out loud, it's like what, like those are pinball numbers.
right, right. Well,
You know what I mean? Do you ever? And I know because I've always found you to be, because of the things that you've done. I've always found you to be very humble.
right, yeah,
You know what I'm saying? How hard was it? Because again, look, I know when I came to Tampa in 92, there were places we went and was getting more respect than the Bucks was getting.
right, right.
So
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
yeah, how hard was that for you to walk around being Stevie Thomas? Like, look, I know what it was like playing with you for the few games I played before I went to Orlando. In bruh, rock
Well,
star status. How difficult was that to micromanage and still be consistent and disciplined enough to come in? And I mean, you did it day in, day out, game in, game out, very consistent. How was that?
I'm not gonna say it was hard, but I think a lot of that began about when I went to Cookman playing for Coach Little, because he pretty much, you know what I mean, well, let me sit there and say he's a Hall of Famer. He's my man, my mentor, my coach. You know, he's that guy. So I say, he instilled that he instilled that in us by us playing with him at Cookman, because I always tell people, you come into Cookman as a boy, but when you leave Cookman, you leave as a man, because that's how he groomed us. So, and I say, as for myself, he groomed me in a way to where when I came to practice, the way I practiced, the way I played the game. So if I came to practice bull jiving like I was in high school, I would come in bull jiving around. But when I went to college, he taught me how to practice. So he said, if
Mm,
you want to make the game easy, you bust your butt in practice, you run everything full speed, you do everything 110%. That way, come Saturday on college game days, the game just the game comes easy to you. So I took that mentality with me, even when I was over with the Bucks. Even though I don't feel as though they should have released me, but that's another story.
mm,
In my benches in the Arena Football. So I still carry that mentality that when I came to practice, either you're gonna practice on my level or I'm gonna embarrass you. So
right.
so I felt as though in order for me to get better and stay consistent and stay at that level, I had to be willing to go that hard and expect for my teammates to go just as hard in order to make me better, in order for me to make them better. So that way the game came simple to it.
I'm gonna tell you, great coaches do that, don't they?
Yes,
I
sir.
know
Yes,
me
sir.
playing for Don Nealon, he did the same for us, and at WVU, he expected what he
Right.
expected for you in practice had to pour over into the games because
Correct.
he wasn't taking nothing short. He understood what we had. He knew exactly what to get out of each player, and that's why we were as
Right.
good as we were. So great coaches, they do have that. I mean, and,
Right.
and I do think it helps you later on in life as well, because as we both know, sports is a microcosm of life.
Yep. Yep. It prepares you.
Even
Yep.
profession, what you're doing right now. If you don't mind sharing, I know. Well, I'm gonna let you say it. I'm gonna let you say it because there are two things in your profession that's incredible, even outside of professional sports.
Right. Right. Well, for those that don't know, I've also been in law enforcement now for over 30 years. I had the blessing to be able to play arena football, and at the same time, when I left football practice, I would go to my law enforcement job. And for those who understand the law enforcement field, man, you got to be ready for everything at any given time. So a lot of that, what I was instilled, even though in my house when I was young. You know, my mom was instilling this, instilling that, but you really don't understand it until you start getting older and older and older. You know, as I went into college, like I said, you know, with Coach Lutter, then playing arena football, everything I learned from college, you know, into playing sports. It also carried into my profession because, you know, I went to work every day, you know, preparing myself with that mentality that, you know what, hey, I'm coming home every day, understand trying to be sharp with everything you do when you're dealing with people, being sharp, watching this, watching that. So, you know, hey, man, look here. But at the same time, I'm hoping, you know, to make it to the next 2 years so I can retire. But, you know, it has been one hell of a ride on both ends, law enforcement and in football.
Wow. And that's the thing, man. I'm hoping. The one thing I love about this particular platform in my show is I want young people and adults as well, parents or whatever, to understand I don't just bring people on just for the sake of bringing them on. There's always a great story behind every guest. And this is important because you're talking about the self-discipline, you're talking about the intellectual fortitude to still do the things that you need to do even after playing football, but you was doing that while you were playing in the Arena Football League.
Yes.
So those are things that our young people need to pick up on. Like now, I have it and I've seen it. I've been in education for this is my 26 years teaching special education, right? And I talk to my kids about just the intestinal fortitude to work hard, have a great work ethic.
Right.
Nowadays, young people don't want to have a great work ethic. They really believe that just because they got some talent, be it great or marginal, whatever, it's an eye of the beholder, that they don't have to work and things are going to just fall in their hands.
Right, that they're entitled to it.
They're entitled. If you don't mind, I got a few minutes left, but if you don't mind, Steve, could you please speak to that? What advice would you give a young student athlete or anyone that's aspiring to reach a goal? What advice would you give them?
My first advice, I'll explain to them. First, understand before you're an athlete, before you're a football player, basketball, baseball, whatever you play, by you being in school, you are a student. First off, you are a student. So understand it don't matter how great of a athlete you are, or that if you don't have the education to back it, your ventures won't be going nowhere. So you got to understand that all of it is about being disciplined and being dedicated, being determined, and at the same time being disciplined. Like I said, and having that fortitude to do everything that's needed in order to be successful. You know, being successful in the classroom, being successful in your private life, and also being successful on the field of battle. All that comes into one. Is all is a prep thing for your whole entire life, because everything that you're gonna learn on the field, you need to be able to carry it off the field. So understand, nobody's gonna give you nothing in this world. You're gonna have to be that dog. You always hear coaches saying, I got these dogs, I got this here. In the sports world, that's them guys that, man, they're gonna get down and dirty. So you got to be prepared to get down and dirty, if you want to be successful in this world.
Man, Stevie, listen, dude, you have no idea. I appreciate, again, I know how busy your schedule is. And before we get off this thing, look, I know, are you still the head coach of the Tampa Bay Tornadoes?
Well, that's kind of been put to the side right now because of some other, some things that were going on here locally in the Tampa Bay area. They moved the team to the Tallahassee area,
Got you.
But at the same time, I couldn't make that transition because I'm still here. But hopefully, if everything works out, there's some things still coming down the pipe, and I would definitely keep you informed, my man.
Please do, because I'm gonna tell you one thing I'm going to do. I see the AFL's coming back 2024.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. Look, I'm 57, but I think I got one or two returns in me.
I bring you in, boy. I bring you in. I got you.
But Man, I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward as always to stay in touch and keep me posted on what you're doing, man. I mean, it's been a great journey, a great teammate, a great friend. And I appreciate you, man. I really do, Stevie.
Appreciate you too, my man. Always. You know that. Nothing but love, boy.
Appreciate you. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hit you up as soon as I get off this, man. I'm gonna hit you up.
All right. All right.
All right, to all the fans, this is the great Stevie Thomas, and again, I thank you for taking the time to jump on my show with me, man. Hall of Famer, one of the greatest to ever do it on any level. So please, matter of fact, if you really want to do yourself some justice, go look him up. Go Google Stevie Thomas AFL and see what you find out, and you will enjoy what you see. Trust me. All right, and I appreciate you, bro.